Yo, what is going on, you guys? It is me, Jason, aka Titans Daily, and welcome back to another video. I know it's been a long time. It's been over a week. I know it's been terrible, but over the Thanksgiving holiday, I have accumulated a cold slash flu slash it's almost winter, and I hate getting sick. So, welcome back to another weekly Pick'ems video, episode number 14 or week number 14 of the year. It's not episode 14. Technically, it would be episode 14 because we are in week 14. Last week, I went 8-8. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. Um, yeah, I went 0-4 in the Thanksgiving and Black Friday games. So, that's tough. The Eagles lost to the Bears, the Cowboys beat the Chiefs, the Bengals beat the Ravens, and the Packers beat the Lions. So, and then of the four from the Sunday slate, I lost the Falcons game because they lost to the Jets in overtime. Well, actually, it was a game-winning field goal by Nick Folk from 56 yards, something like that. Um, and yeah, a lot of close calls in that game. The Titans game, I picked wrong. Obviously, I wanted the Titans to win, but they got their ass kicked by the Jags, 25-3. So, anyways, if you guys are enjoying these videos, hit the like button down below. I appreciate all of your support. And if you guys are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date on whenever I post videos like this, College Football 26, NBA 2K26. Whenever I talk about college football or NFL like this, I'm gonna make this a little bit longer of a video so I can catch you guys up to date on what's going on in the NFL and college football world and NBA world. So right now, today is Tuesday night at 10:30. So Syracuse has just knocked off Tennessee, and it was 62-60. What a crazy game that was, right? And I thought, dang, Jalen Carey had a really good first half, whole game actually. He was just being a beast inside the post, and man, it's just tough sledding, man. But let's get right to the picks. I'll get more on college football in a little bit. Probably after these picks, I'll get to my SEC or not SEC, but like at large championship games and let you guys know who I'm going to pick this week. Alabama versus Georgia, Indiana versus Ohio State, Duke versus Virginia, etc., etc. All the championship games are this week, also known as championship week. Rivalry week has just ended. Michigan lost to Ohio State. Tennessee lost to Vanderbilt. Very, very disappointed about that. I was at that game. It's just, damn, you hate to see like your best players just try to give it all, your all. Like, I know that's like a common University of Tennessee saying, giving your all for Tennessee, but man, sometimes you just come up short, and that's how it happens. You just gotta hope and pray you get a pretty decent bowl game from now, which I see Tennessee playing in a okay bowl game, maybe like a Duke's Mayo, or like a Citrus Bowl, but all the main bowl games are in the college football playoff, that being the Sugar Bowl, the Cotton Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and the Fiesta Bowl, aka the Tostinos Classic, as I like to call it. But yeah, anyways, week 14. Can't believe the season's pretty much almost over. We got 4 weeks left. Well, 5 technically. If we're going to count week 14, it's going to be 4. All right, we got Thursday Night Football. We got the Dallas Cowboys at the Detroit Lions. This game could really be close. The Cowboys did beat the Chiefs last week, which was actually insane. I thought Dak played a really good game. George Pickens deserves his contract for whatever he's going to get next year in free agency for the Cowboys, because I'm assuming that they'll re-sign him, right? Even though he's asking for a crazy price, pay the man. Pay him. Because we've seen what happened with the Titans not paying the receivers, A.J. Brown. But that's 3.5 years ago now. So I got to stop worrying about A.J. Brown and worry about Alec Ioman or, the Xavier Restrepo injury, which looked bad because there was a cart that got him. And it's like, damn. You like to see the Cam Ward X chemistry because it worked so well in Miami, but I'll get more on the Titans later. But first up, Cowboys and Lions. I'm gonna go with the Lions here, just off the fact that they're at home. I know they lost to the Packers last week on Thanksgiving Day, but I really believe that the Lions could win this game by probably like 3 or 7 points. It's like either a field goal game or a touchdown game. Like it really just depends which defense is going to step up bigger, and who knows? Quinn Williams and the Cowboys could get it done on Thursday, but till then, we don't know. Next up, we got the Seattle Seahawks and the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to go with the Seahawks, considering the Falcons just lost to the Jets. And, that loss was just so detrimental to the Falcons. And, losing Penix for the year. And, you know, it's just the Falcons are just in a whirl of trouble because they're losing games, but they also won't have a first round pick unless they trade for one to get back into the first round. Because on draft day last year, they traded up with the Rams and got James Pierce, from Tennessee, obviously. But yeah, I got the Seahawks going over and beating the Falcons. I'm going to say this game's going to be 31-13. Seattle gets the big dub in Atlanta. Next up, we got the Tennessee Titans going up against the Cleveland Browns. It's going to be a classic Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders toilet bowl. I think the Cleveland's defense is way, way better than the Titans' defense. And for that reason alone, I'm going with the Cleveland Browns. I don't see a situation where the Titans win this game unless it's special teams, which is the third dimension of the game. What's the word I'm looking for? There's three. I forgot. But I think, all phases of the game. That's exactly what I'm thinking of. The Titans are really good in special teams. Chimere DK. Honestly, I think he's second in Pro Bowl voting right now as of like 20 minutes ago. I was checking Twitter, just looking at Pro Bowl rankings. I know it's like a fan thing, and the Pro Bowl kind of doesn't mean much nowadays, but I think Chimere DK is going to be something special for years to come. Jeffrey Simmons also getting the nod at defensive tackle. I think he's like the fourth or fifth defensive tackle. That's among active players that's voted for the Pro Bowl. So I don't think the Titans win this game. I wouldn't be shocked if they did win this game because the Browns are really, really bad. I mean, they lost to the 49ers last week, like 26-8 or whatever. And then, I think Shedeur Sanders has a decent game. You know how the Titans are with mobile quarterbacks. Like they tend to not do well. So I'm going to pick the Browns in this one in Cleveland. Next up, we got the Chicago Bears versus the Green Bay Packers. And can you believe that the Chicago Bears are number one seed in the NFC right now? It's crazy. But I don't know why this game is so far up the list. When it's listed at 425, maybe it got flexed. But I don't know. I'm going to take the Bears in this one. I think Caleb Williams has played pretty serviceable for the past few games, We thought the Bears were going to be pretty decent because they had a pretty good offseason this past year, getting Grady Jarrett from the Falcons, getting Joe Tooney from the Chiefs, adding more weapons at receiver. We've seen how Rome Odunze has kind of grown into a second year. And then with the Packers, they just traded for Micah Parsons at the beginning of the season. And, their defense has looked really well, especially last week in the Thanksgiving game against the Detroit Lions. Micah Parsons had 2.5 sacks, right? And I think the Bears can win this game. I know it's in Lambeau. I might do like a last-minute switch on this. Man, this game could really shift the moment of power in the NFC North because I believe the Packers are either 7-3-1 or 8-3-1. I think they might be even 9-3-1, but I think they already had their bye week, so it wouldn't make sense to be 9-3-1. I think they're 8-3-1, and the Bears are 9-3 right now. So, you know what? I'm gonna go with the Packers. I'm gonna switch my pick. Do I regret that? Maybe. Deep down, maybe the Bears win, and this might be the game of the week where the Bears absolutely just turn to crap. But I think that the Packers can handle business and they'll take care of the Bears. I'm going to say this game's going to be really close. I think it's going to be 27-23 Packers at home. Next up, we got the Washington Commanders versus the Minnesota Vikings. The Commanders had a really close loss against the Broncos on Sunday Night Football. That game was beautiful. You know, as highly rated as the Broncos are, who are now 10-2, right? Marcus Mariota had a great game. Traylon Burks, former Titans wide receiver, first round pick that we traded AJ Brown for, basically. Had a crazy one-handed catch, like in the back of the end zone. It was wild. I'm gonna go with the Commanders in this one. You know, if JJ McCarthy plays, I'm still taking the Commanders. I haven't seen that step that JJ McCarthy has taken. Um, you know, he is coming off concussion protocol. I will say that, and he is pretty young. I mean, it is only his second year in the Kevin O'Connell system, so we'll see how that goes on moving forward. But I just got the Commanders over the Vikings. Just simply put, I think Mariota is going to have a really good game against this Vikings defense, which tends to kind of let down. And the Vikings actually lost pretty badly last week. I forgot who they played, but I just know it was like an ugly game from start to finish. Next up, we got another toilet bowl game. We got the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. I'll drink some water. I think that the Jets, had a really good win over the Falcons last week. I mean, granted, it was pretty much luck from Tyrod Taylor. They almost, you know, got out of field goal range, but somehow got back into field goal range, if that makes sense. This game could go either way. I think the Dolphins got lucky last week. They got a really big stop on fourth down after the Saints got an onside kick. It was crazy. Um, I'm gonna go with the Dolphins in this one, just off of the fact that I think their defense can step up again, and make a big stop on the Jets, and I think they'll win this game. It's probably going to be something like 20-14. Dolphins win this game on a game-winning pick. All right, moving on. We got the New Orleans Saints versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. The Bucks just barely escaped the Arizona Cardinals last week, 20-17. The Bucks, I really believe that they're going to win the NFC South. It's just a matter of how well they are going to play the Panthers, because they have yet to play the Panthers this year, if I'm correct. Yeah, they play them twice in 3 weeks, I think. I think they play them for the first time in week 16 or 15, and then they play them in the season finale in Tampa Bay. So I got the Bucks in this one. I think Baker's going to be a little bit too much for the Saints to handle. So yeah, give me the Bucks 27-13. Next up, we got the Indianapolis Colts at the Jacksonville Jaguars. This game, a few weeks ago, this game might have been overlooked or underlooked and be like, oh, the Colts are going to win this game. But the Colts are kind of riding a 2-game losing streak, losing to the Texans this past Sunday and, losing to the Chiefs in overtime 2 weeks ago. But I think this game will be determined by how well Daniel Jones can play off of his fibula injury, which is, I don't know how or why he's playing with that, but, kudos to him. He's just a tough man. And, I think the Jags will drop this game. I think the Colts get back into that, we got to finish business. We got to take care of the AFC South and make sure we win this. So I'm going to take the Colts in this one. It's going to be a close game. I'm going to say 31 Colts to the Jags 24. I think Jonathan Taylor plays a big factor in this game. Jonathan Taylor's having one hell of a season. I mean, seriously in the talks for MVP. And, I think that the Colts defense is good enough to stop the Jags. I think the one thing you do got to be a little bit worried about if you are the Colts is the Sauce Gardner injury. I haven't really looked into the severity of it yet, but it did not look really promising because it was a non-contact injury. You hate to see that word, especially whenever it's like one of your best players, like Sauce Gardner is probably one of their best players on defense, right? Probably close second would be DeForest Buckner, right? And then you got Travarius Ward, or like, you get what I'm saying, Zaire Franklin. But I think the Colts win this game by a touchdown, 31-24. Next up, we got another AFC North showdown. We got the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Baltimore Ravens. Now, the Ravens did lose a heartbreaker against the Bengals on Thanksgiving night, 34-12. And Lamar did not look good at all. Like, I really didn't like how Lamar played last week. And, you could say he's washed. He hasn't, played that good this year. I mean, you could say anything, really. And Lamar, Baltimore, their whole team is actually really solid. I think they're both tied. The Steelers and the Ravens are both tied for first in the AFC North, which is actually kind of crazy. I think they're both 6-6. So whoever wins this game is going to be first in the AFC North. Personally, I like the Ravens a little bit more. I trust them a little bit more because they have Derrick Henry back there. And we all know where Derrick Henry went to. What was before the Ravens? I was trying to say we all know where Derrick Henry came from, but didn't come out the right way. Used the wrong words. But I don't even know if that was even English, what I just said in the past 30 seconds. But I got the Ravens in this one. It's going to be close because it is a divisional game. I'm going to say Baltimore wins this game 20-17. This game is going to be really determined on how well one team or the other can run the football. And I think the Ravens can run the football better than the Steelers can. And the Steelers only put up, 7 points against the Bills, maybe 8 points. So, yeah, another tough loss for the Steelers. And who knows if Aaron Rodgers is going to play, but even if he's playing, I still got the Ravens. Next up, we got the Denver Broncos and the Las Vegas Raiders. This one's pretty easy. I got the Broncos, just mainly because their defense is one of the best in the NFL, if not the best in the NFL. Really, I think it's the Broncos, the Colts, the Texans have elite defenses in the AFC. Best defense in the AFC probably is the Broncos, right? I mean, they are 10-2. They have a really decent quarterback play in Bo Nix. Bo Nix has looked a little shaky at times, but I think he gets it done here in Vegas. I mean, the Raiders, man, they really, like, I don't know what they were trying to do, trying to hire 72-year-old Pete Carroll, but I don't know. I mean, Gentee is something promising. Max Crosby is always someone to watch. And then Geno Smith is like, damn, he's kind of mid. But, shit like that happens. Everything can go so right, and then it can just go to hell real quick. Just like how the Titans used to be something real good. Like, they used to be true contenders in the AFC 5 years ago. Now they're just in a dumpster fire right now, trying to get a few wins on their season. But anyways, I do got the Broncos and over the Raiders on this one. I'm gonna say 31-10. I don't see the Raiders scoring that many points against the Broncos. I mean, the Broncos do have potential Defensive Player of the Year, Nick Bonito. So I'm just gonna say that. And PS2 back there, and their secondary is great. All right, next up we got Joe Burrow versus Josh Allen. Considering how well Joe Burrow played off injury from turf toe for the past 2.5 months, honestly, he looked pretty good against the Ravens defense, And man, these are games I don't like picking because they can go either way. But since Buffalo's at home in this one, I'm gonna take the Bills. I'm gonna take the Bills in this one, 31-27. Just because, I just trust Josh Allen at the end of the game in the regular season more than I do Joe Burrow. So yeah, I got the Bills in that one, 31-27. Next up, the Rams versus the Cardinals. I got the Rams. Something about Matt Stafford this year. He's just playing at a crazy level. Like, I think he is in serious contention for MVP talks. You might think I'm crazy, but I think I think you gotta really think about 38-year-old, 37-year-old Matt Stafford and be like, wow, I can't believe he's still doing this after year 16, right? Year 17 in the league right now. Came out of Georgia in 2008, 2009. First overall pick, by the way, to the Lions. And then the Lions traded him for a first round pick and Jared Goff and some other first round picks, which gave the Rams the Super Bowl in 2022 against the Bengals. But that's a whole nother rabbit hole that I don't want to bother going down. I still got the Rams over the Cardinals in this one. I'm going to say the Rams win this one again, probably like 34-13. Jacoby Brissett, he could score a couple touchdowns, you never know. Marvin Harrison Jr. might be able to score some too. But I really don't see the Rams losing back-to-back weeks, especially over that heartbreaking loss over the Panthers. I still got the Rams over the Cardinals. All right, Sunday Night Football. We got CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans going up against the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs have looked very interesting this year because they're not atop of their division. In fact, I believe that they're third place behind the Chargers and the Broncos. Speaking of the Chargers, Monday Night Football. Wow, it's an interesting game. Anyways, I do have the Chiefs in this one. I really don't think the Texans can keep up with the level of intensity that the Chiefs have, and the Chiefs are at home. Taylor Swift's probably going to be there, It just sounds like Mahomes is going to go off in this game, right? And, people are just going to ride Kansas City until, the playoffs come, right? And they're going to somehow sneak the Chiefs in at the 7th seed. And they'll be a squeak-in team, maybe. Might be the second team in the AFC West. Might be the third, but who knows what happens with the Broncos and the Chargers for the next 4 weeks. So, with that being said, got the Philadelphia Eagles and the LA Chargers in LA. Another stipulation to that with the Eagles, they're in first place right now, but they got to watch out for the Cowboys, who are 6-5-1, I believe. Yeah, 6-5-1. And, if Dallas wins on Thursday, they have an increased chance of making the playoffs. And, I don't see the Eagles losing this game. I really don't. So I'm going to take the Eagles in this one over the Chargers. It will be close. Will be very competitive. I'm going to say within a touchdown. I'm going to say 34-27 Eagles over the Chargers. I think Justin Herbert is a very serviceable quarterback. And, he is very solid. But sometimes in big games, he tends to choke, but who knows? The Chargers might put up 30 on the Eagles, but I really don't see the Eagles losing this game. And, hopefully they do win, but hopefully this week I'll do much better than I did for the Thanksgiving week. That's for sure. My total record for the 2025 season is 123-70-1, while going 8-8 in week 13, which was the Thanksgiving week. So let's move on to college football. College football time. All right. These conference games, really just, it really is just going to depend the playoff seeding, huh? So as I am recording this, I will tell you guys what are in the top 25, top 12 really. So right now it is 1 Ohio State, 2 Indiana, 3 Georgia, 4 Texas Tech, 5 Oregon, 6 Ole Miss, 7 Texas A&M, 8 Oklahoma, 9 Alabama, 10 Notre Dame, 11 BYU, 12 Miami, 13 Texas. With the first ones out are BYU and Miami. So that's what the updated college football playoff rankings are as of December 2nd, 2025, with the Selection Sunday show, which is next Sunday, which is Sunday, December 7th, which is when those NFL games happen. But the college football selection show, say that 5 times fast, college football selection show, is Sunday, December 7th at noon Eastern, I believe, and I think it's gonna be on ESPN. I would be surprised if it's on anything else. It might be on ABC too, but anyways, let's get right into the picks. We got Troy versus James Madison for the Sun Belt champion. I should probably go over these different conferences that we have. So we got the Sun Belt with James Madison University and Troy, Jacksonville State and Kennesaw State. I believe also for the, I think they're both in the Sun Belt, or no, it's not the Sun Belt. There's another. Let me let me double check my terms before I throw something off. Um, let's see. And of course, it's going to give me the generic American Athletic Conference, which is something else. There's another conference that is like that. Okay, Conference USA is Kennesaw State and Jacksonville State. University of North Texas and Tulane is the American Athletic Conference. UNLV versus Boise State, I believe, is the Mountain West. I might be wrong. Okay, I'm not. Thank God. So yeah, Boise State and UNLV. BYU and Texas Tech is the Big 12. Miami of Ohio and Western Michigan, I believe, is the MACtion. UGA versus Alabama is obviously the SEC. IU versus OSU is obviously the Big 10. Duke and University of Virginia is the ACC. First up, we got the Sun Belt. Yes. Okay. I got that right. Sun Belt. So the Sun Belt East champions are the JMU Dukes versus the Troy. I don't know what their nickname is, but I'm going to go with the JMU Dukes here. That's probably a bad way to do it, but I'm going to just do this actually. Just like I'm doing the weekly pick'ems, with it's so nice to have the box that are uncircled, but if I put a blue dot right next to the team, that means I pick them. And the reason why I think JMU deserves to be in the 12-team playoff, they're probably the best Group of 5 team. The only other comparison would be Tulane, right? I think Tulane is also capable of getting that G5 bid. But there is a scenario where 2 G5 teams like JMU and Tulane and North Texas could get in, but I see JMU getting in my 12-team bracket. Next up, we got I want to say the MAC. No, the MAC is Western Michigan. I'm silly. Conference USA. Conference USA, we got the Kennesaw State Owls versus Jacksonville State Gamecocks. I'm going to take Kennesaw State in this one. They have a better season. I think this game will also be pretty close. I don't know an exact score prediction, but I'm going to say something like Kennesaw State wins this game. Let's say 38-31. Jacksonville State comes real close, but Kennesaw State wins the Conference USA title. Next up, we got the American Athletic Conference with University of North Texas Mean Green and the Tulane Green Waves. Shout out to Tajay Spears. Tajay Spears, if you didn't know, is the Titans running back that went to Tulane. We got him in 2023 in the 3rd round. Roll those waves because I got the Tulane Green Waves. I think Tulane is a much more structured team than University of North Texas, and I think Tulane can win this game pretty handily. They could get that G5 bid if they have a really big win over North Texas. And North Texas has also looked really good this past year. But I'm just going to take the green wave and ride the wave. Next up, we got the Mountain West Championship on 8 p.m. We got the UNLV Rebels versus the Boise State Broncos, I believe. I'm not really good with these lower level college football teams' mascots / nicknames, so bear with me. I'm going to take the Boise State Broncos over the Rebels, and you might be thinking, like, what am I doing? I should be taking UNLV, but I mean, Dan Mullen has done a tremendous job in his first year at UNLV, and you know what? I'm gonna switch it. I'm gonna do it. Boise State might win, but I'm gonna take UNLV. Dan Mullen, just to go off of what he said, what I said, what he said, what I've said. Dan Mullen, some of you might know, but Dan Mullen originally came from the University of Florida. He came from the coaching tree of, Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer, and then later got a head coaching job at Florida in like 2018 and got fired in 2021 or 2020, something like that. They had a crazy year in 2020, Florida did. If you didn't know, Kyle Pitts went to Florida and he had a really crazy game against Georgia in the biggest cocktail festival. If you know, you know. Um, and I think UNLV has done a really good job this year. I think they went 10-2 this year. And I think they're going to be too much for Boise State to handle. So give me the Rebels over the Broncos. Next up, we got the Big 12 championship. I think whoever wins this ultimately has to also get in or get in. Texas Tech did win the regular season matchup 3 weeks ago against BYU. There were some rumors going around BYU's head coach leaving for Penn State, but he quickly stated that he is not leaving. And, considering how the college football landscape is nowadays, I think loyalty is going to play a huge factor in some of these coaches that are leaving. My eyes were on, Lane Kiffin. He was going to leave Ole Miss, and unfortunately he did. But it's just a lot of people don't like Lane Kiffin for what he's done in the past to teams, especially with Ole Miss, Tennessee, and USC. But my feelings about Lane Kiffin is just like, how could you leave a program after you built something really good in your first couple years starting it? Like Ole Miss, for example, was not really that good before Lane Kiffin. Like their main players were probably Eli Manning, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, others that I can't think of right now off the top of my head. But and then ever since Lane came by, you had Matt Corral, you had Jackson Dart, you had, Trinidad Chambliss. Really just depends on, how well Texas Tech can play like they played BYU. And I'll get back to the Lane Kiffin thing in just a second. But I'm going to take Texas Tech over BYU again. So I'm going to say this game is 31-20, Texas Tech. But as I was saying on Lane Kiffin, it's just loyalty is just a huge factor. And, a lot of people, including Ole Miss students, were booing at Lane Kiffin as he was leaving the tarmac. It's all over Twitter. Just look it up. Crazy, crazy, crazy times to be in college football right now. It's just a wild west out here. Anyways, we finally have the MACtion. Western Michigan versus Miami of Ohio. I'm going to take Western Michigan just because Titans legend Corey Davis went there. No, but I know nothing of both of these schools. Do I not know ball? Probably not. I probably don't know ball. But I'm going to take the Western Michigan Broncos over the Miami of Ohio. I don't know what their exact name is. I think it's like Red Hawks or something, or like the Red. But I'm going to take Western Michigan over Miami of Ohio. All right, these are the most important games, or the more important games according to most people. This game is going to be really, really good. Georgia and Alabama, two really well-nosed programs. Kirby's building a hell of a culture down in Athens. Kalen DeBoer is starting to find his footing down in Tuscaloosa. This game really could be like the rematch. Well, it is the rematch of the Week 3 matchup between Georgia and Alabama. Or Week 5 matchup, I want to say. It was a night game in Athens, and Georgia lost that game 24-21. This game also could determine whether both these teams could get a bye or not. I think if Georgia wins, they're definitely going to get a bye. I think if Bama wins, they could also get a bye. I think Ty Simpson is a way better quarterback than Gunnar Stockton. This game could get really ugly real fast, but Georgia's defense hasn't been as good as it has been. Like, I'm talking about 2020, 2021, 2022, basically when they had their national championship back to back. You know, tried to go for three in a row, but Kurt, Nick Saban's last year, they stopped him in 2023. That was the last SEC on CBS game, which was very emotional for me personally because I like the SEC on CBS, but that's another conversation for another day, right? But I'm going to take Alabama in this one, and that might sound surprising, but I mean, the way Alabama has played ever since their loss to Florida State has been pretty damn good. I mean, they are a two-loss team, and they're on the fringe, kind of outside looking in, but they're probably going to be in. If I'm going to take a guess, they missed out last year on the playoff, but I think this year they'll get in. I think both of these teams will be in the college football playoff regardless of what happens. But anyways, I got the Bama Crimson Tide over the Georgia Bulldogs. I'm going to say Alabama wins this game 31-24. Next up, we got the Indiana Hoosiers versus the Ohio State Buckeyes. That's how tired I am. Ohio State. I confused Ohio State for Oklahoma State. That is just bad. Ohio State Buckeyes and the Indiana Hoosiers. This game, it might get out of reach for Indiana. That doesn't mean they're a bad football team. Certainly not. I think with their last week win over Purdue, 56-3, was a big statement. Get the Oaken bucket back in Bloomington, right? I really don't see a world where IU could win this game. I think OSU is going to be a little bit too much. I think this game's going to be a little bit closer than what people think. I think the line right now is 5.5, maybe 4.5. Maybe it dropped, but I think OSU covers that. I'm going to say OSU wins this game 31-24 also. Actually, I'm going to say 35-24. I think Fernando Mendoza has done a phenomenal job so far under this Curt Cignetti team. And, I think it's going to be a little too late, and they're going to eventually fall to OSU. But I still think Indiana is very well a capable playoff team. I don't think you leave out Indiana if they lose, but I got OSU winning this game, 35-24. Next up, we got the Duke Blue Devils versus the Virginia Cavaliers. I got that name right, but not Ohio State with Oklahoma State. I'm still a little bit over that, but I need to get over that. Virginia has looked really good. I get why Duke and Virginia are playing. It's because their conference records were really good. Duke had a really solid conference record. I think they tied with Miami. The only two losses I think that Duke had in their conference was to, I want to say, Georgia Tech and then somebody else, but don't remember who. It's that long ago. But I got Virginia winning this game. I could see Virginia winning this game by 2 touchdowns, so like 38-21. Yeah, I'm going to say that. Virginia wins this game 38-21. And, they claim the ACC title. So to recap, I got JMU over Troy in the Sun Belt. Is that right? Is it the Sun Belt? Please be the Sun Belt. Yep. Sun Belt Conference. I got Kennesaw State over Jacksonville State in Conference USA. I got Tulane over North Texas in the American Athletic Conference Championship. I got UNLV over Boise State in the Mountain West Championship. I got Texas Tech over BYU in the Big 12 Championship. I got Western Michigan over Miami of Ohio in the MAC Mid-American Conference Championship. I got Alabama over Georgia in the SEC Championship. I got Ohio State over the Indiana Hoosiers in the Big 10 Championship. And I got Virginia over Duke in the Atlantic Coastal Conference Championship. I can't wait to watch most of these games, see how the seeding reacts. I'll do a playoff prediction hopefully next week when everything's finalized. Don't want to do another early thing. But, I think the NFL early one that I had, honestly, it might hit a little bit. I don't know. It might be way different from what I thought it was middle of November. But who knows? Only time will tell over the next week or two for college football and for the NFL. Who knows what will happen till January, right? And, same thing with the college football playoff. Who knows what will happen until we see those quarterfinal games, the Cotton Bowl, the Sugar Bowl, the Orange Bowl, right? But till then, we just got these games to watch and, enjoy them, right? Anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, hit the like button down below. And if you guys are new to the channel, hit the subscribe button so you can stay up to date on whenever I upload new videos like this. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy conference championship weekend. I'm sure as hell ready for another Georgia and Alabama rematch. But a lot of people really wanted Texas A&M and Bama, or Texas A&M and Georgia, right? Because I think a lot of Texas fans really wanted to get into the playoff because they had really their three losses. I think were to I think it was Florida, right? I'm actually gonna look it up before I look like an idiot. Florida, Georgia, and Ohio State. So they had a really tough schedule, but who knows what will the committee think after all these games are done. There might be some scenarios where, BYU could get in even if they lose, but I don't know. Who knows what will happen till that Selection Sunday show. But yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.